Let's get into that a little bit later. Let's bring in Dave Thomas on the Western Pizza guest hotline. You're looking for a Christmas stocking stuffer, maybe a gift exchange. Be the gift exchange hero. Get a Western Pizza gift card. They're also taking catering orders for your office Christmas parties. David, Grey Cup. In one word, what would that be? Summing up that Grey Cup in one word.
Surprise.
Yeah? See, we sat on this program last week and I said, it's the Canadian Football League. And in the Canadian Football League's championship game, weird things happen. That's where that 10.5, when it was 10, and remember it was 10.5? And I was like, and then we started going down the rabbit hole of the Patriots in 2007, which was 12. And I'm like, So, surprising. At what point in the game do you go, well, wait a minute here, Toronto could win this?
Well, surprising wasn't actually me alluding to the outcome. My surprise was that I really think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers outthought themselves in this game because, again, the pressure, I think, was squarely on their shoulders to go ahead and pull off not only a victory, but a convincing victory against a team that was starting their backup quarterback, albeit really Nick Arbuckle really wasn't a starting or a backup quarterback in the broadest definition of the term. But like when you only run Brady Oliveira, the league's most outstanding player, you run him 11 times when he's averaging 7.6 yards. Like, what are you doing? Like, I understand that in the fourth quarter, maybe the game was getting away from you a little bit and you had to go away from him. But to me, it was an opportunity just to pound and chip away and then force the Toronto Argonauts to drive long fields all day. And for whatever reason, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers didn't feel that was the best way to attack the Toronto Argonauts defense. I get it. They were tops right up there 1-2 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders and stopping the run, but they didn't. Like, he was running 7.6 yards per carry.
There was one point in the game where I drew a parallel to the Bombers beating the Riders and where we were going, run, Ouellette. Where's Armstead? Run him. Was there anything that you could see? And I was going to text Luke as well and say, are you seeing anything that would scare them away from running? Kind of like I felt maybe the Riders went away from that part the week before. I don't know. What did you see anything there?
Well, I did see Toronto starting to creep up towards the line of scrimmage a little bit. And so to me, that thought, okay, well, maybe you're afraid they're going to take it away, but I don't think you can play afraid. Like, until Toronto makes a statement saying that we can stop the run game, then you keep running it. And the bread and butter for me for the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense has been not having to force Zach Collaros to be a superstar this year. Collaros has to come in and manage the game effectively. Now, don't get me wrong. He went off in the West Final. He was sensational against the Rough Riders. But to me, yesterday, they weren't getting the help that he needed. For example, Nick Dembski didn't make a catch until the fourth quarter. And Nick Dembski, he was always kind of that second and medium guy. He was the dependable receiver. So if you're running the rock, right, and you're getting 7 yards per carry, you're 7.6 yards per carry if you want to be specific. If you're getting that production from the run game, you don't need a big, huge take-a-shot passing game. You just need to be able to control the football, and Nick Dembski didn't do that, dropping a number of passes.
Second and manageable, right? And then you open up so many things. We've said that all year. I found that, sorry, Bidsy, is on the heels of that, I'll say, like, that Winton McManus just was a terror. Like, it was like, oh, there he is again, breaking up a pass. Oh, there he is again, hitting someone or just making it feel that he was near. Bids, what were you going to go with?
I was just going to say with Nick Arbuckle, of course, the commentating crew for TSN was touching a lot on his story, going from a guy at the start of the year that was looking for a job, possibly as a coach in the league, to a guy that in the end, in the final game, is there winning the most valuable player for the game, guiding his team to a Grey Cup championship. Nick Arbuckle, maybe just a bit more on that story, Dave, what you thought of how it all turned out for him. Kind of a nice little Cinderella story for the CFL.
Well, absolutely fascinating. You're right, Bidsy. And he wasn't even up for a coaching job in the Canadian Football League. His work visa was expiring. He didn't sign anywhere as a free agent, right? So his work visa is expiring. Him and his wife had a blunt conversation with one another. If this doesn't work out, I'm in trouble. And the fact that I've missed the CFL hiring window, I've missed the NFL hiring window, I've missed the college hiring window. The only place for me to coach is to go to high school. So he was looking at coaching some high school level players south of the border if they didn't get signed by day X, which was when their work visas were going to expire. So he went ahead, got the call from the Toronto Argonauts in the preseason, or I guess it was a couple of weeks into training camp, and that was when it turned around for him. And again, you got to give him credit. His story is one of Cinderella, but I don't think that people should be surprised. He's shown that he is that caliber of quarterback, and he did that when he was working with Ryan Dinwiddie in Calgary, and I think the two are a perfect fit for one another. It'll be interesting to see what the future may hold, because whenever he seems to leave Dinwiddie, whether that have been with stops in Ottawa or when he was, of course, in Edmonton for a little bit, or when he was in Toronto without Dinwiddie, it hasn't worked out so well for him. So it'll be interesting what the future holds when this whole quarterback carousel gets spinning in the CFL soon.
Yeah, that's for sure going to be the off-season soap opera for sure in the Canadian Football League, where these quarterbacks will land. Okay, so that leaves Winnipeg. 5 straight times they go to the Grey Cup, Dave. They win the first 2, 2019, 2021. They lose the last 3. What does yesterday's loss, and maybe what does their record in the last 5 Grey Cups do for you and their legacy?
I'm curious what it's going to be, because they're kind of like the Buffalo Bills, right? Buffalo Bills could get to the game. They just couldn't get there. And Winnipeg won 2 in a row, right? So now what do you do? Because there's going to be a lot of pressure on that team to get to the Grey Cup for a 6th straight time on
and they're
their
hosting
home
it.
field.
Yeah, and they're hosting it.
Right? So that pressure is going to be huge. And what do you do? Like, do you believe that Zach Collaros is your guy that's going to get you there? There's going to have to be a commitment there. And again, it starts there and then it looks down. Like Ryan Dinwiddie, or pardon me, Buck Pierce, who's the offensive coordinator, is rumored to be in line for a head coaching job in BC should Rick Campbell go to Edmonton. So there could be big changes coming to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And after their 0-4 start, like, there was a lot of people saying, oh, these guys are old, they're washed up, their windows is closed. They've proved everyone wrong on that by dominating down the stretch when you have to be at your best. I don't know what the future is going to be in Winnipeg, but it's going to be a fantastic thing to view from the outside.
It'd be really neat to get Coach Mace's take on Dinwiddie and that coaching staff and what they did to win this game. Like, the players are one thing, the coaching staff and the scheme to pull off a 10.5 or 9 point, whatever you got the line at, that doesn't happen very often. And then, and I know he probably doesn't have a lot to say, but Mike Pinball Clemens, like, talk about a winner. Like, what is that, 8 times on the trophy?
You took the words right out of my mouth, because Mike Pinball Clemens has got to be viewed as one of the top, again, whether you view him as a player, as a coach, or now as a guy in charge of player personnel, got to be one of the tops of all time in getting the most out of his team. Because I'll recall when they hired Ryan Dinwiddie, when they made that announcement, I'm like, they're hiring the quarterbacks coach out of Calgary. They're not even hiring a coordinator. They're hiring Ryan Dinwiddie. What amazing job. He wins 2 Grey Cups in 3 years. Like, that's absolutely incredible. And again, there's so many things that happen in the background in Toronto with, the poor attendance figures, to the seemingly always revolving door at the president's room, or even with the ownership. And he's been the glue that's kept it all together and done nothing but win 8-0 in their last 8 appearances in the Grey Cup. It's uncanny. And yeah, Pinball Clemens, you're right, Barney. I'm with you, man. He's got to get so much more credit than what he gets.
And I think we are way closer to calling the Argonauts a dynasty than Winnipeg.
Yeah, you'd have to think that. And if Chad Kelly comes back as the starting quarterback, and again, there's a whole bunch of ifs as well in Toronto, but again, like, you did that without your starting quarterback, the guy that you really attached to the wagon, right? Like, he was the guy. And so, yeah, I'm with you. They are close. Their defense has been sensational all year long, and they seem to be able to survive no matter what weather there happens to be. I don't know if you heard the story about Ryan Dinwiddie, but him taping the toonie to the locker in BC is priceless.
We have that clip. Can we play it quick, Bidsy, before we go? Before you go play that clip, Colson.
So when we beat BC here, I told those guys I taped a toonie on the top of my locker. I said, I'll come get it. You know, at the end of the year, we're playing in this game, guys. We're going to play in this game. And you look at our last little bit, I don't think anybody was doubting in our locker room that we feel we're the best team in the league.
I would, if he really wanted to be a Cowboy, he could have put like a Hyundai or something.
I was just gonna say that I could have done a toonie. I could have done a toonie.
No, I get the whole sentimental.
Yeah, and he did that September the 13th, though. He said, hey, we're going to be back here, and that's when he did it. And I'm like, that is sensational stuff.
I was just going to add about, and just quickly about pinball as well, too. Talk about a turnaround for him, right? He starts the season off with this whole thing going on with Chad Kelly. He meets with the media. He's talking to them. He's crying to the media about how he dropped the ball. It all falls at his feet. Why that happened and how upset he was for the organization that things went the way they did with that whole Chad Kelly thing. And then by the end of the year, there's Pinball Clemens with the Toronto Argonauts celebrating a Grey Cup. Like, just another thing in sports where it turned around, obviously, from the way things started for him to how it ended up for Pinball Clemens. And yeah, just a winner in the Canadian Football League for a long time.
19. Hey, for the Argos. I kind of forget about that. That's the most wins.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Absolutely. Like, all they do is they get to the game and they win, right? They find a way to get into the game and they win.
And no, it's,
do you think, I know we're going to get to Brendan McGuire here, talk Mitchell Bowl. Do you think, Dave, and Bidsy, I don't know if you guys have probably both thrown with gloves on. And he's never thrown. They're making such a big deal about him never throwing with a glove on. It's like, first off, well, why not? Like, maybe you might want to practice that in case things like this happen or bad weather happens or whatever. But that he shorted the one in the third with the glove on, but he threw the other one in the first half. That was almost he shorted that guy as well. I don't know if it's a pressure thing for him. Was Dave, or was it the Argos being that key, that that athletic that they could make those plays and they knew what he was going to be doing?
Before the injury, yeah, for sure. But I really think that there was a huge effect. And again, whether it's glove or not, if you've had stitches before, right? And again, I would love to know what the severity of the finger injury was. Like, I don't think it was a 1 or 2 stitch job. Like, it did not look good. Now, I'm not saying the tip of the finger was severed, which some would have you to believe. But to me, you got to freeze that thing to put the stitches in. So can you imagine trying to have that pointer finger frozen trying to throw it with a glove on it that you're not used to? So to me, that again, I give Zach Caleros just all kinds of props, right? Valiant effort. If Chris Strevler was available, they'd have gone to him in that situation. I was a little surprised that Terry Wilson was the guy that they called upon. Yes and no, but again, Terry Wilson ended 0 for 2 with the 2 passes that he had, and I think Mike O'Shea he's a smart coach. He knows what he's doing. This day isn't working. I got to get Zach back in there, and he's going to give us our best chance, albeit that chance is reduced due to the hand injury.
Yeah, and then he shorted the other one. Like you said, I don't know, like, so if it was a cut, because I've had the bone blow through the skin on the index, and then you got to put it back in, and then you got to stitch it, but it's a stitch. The other time I got the stitches in the tip, I was ripping toilet paper to blow my nose at the Cooperator Center. And you know how everyone out there, be careful when you're ripping toilet paper from public, because the edges are so sharp. It sliced it was hanging. So I had to go, and then they put the needle right in the tip. I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of nerves there. There are a lot of nerves in the tip of the finger. Worse than a lip. There you go.
Wow. I tell you about my time in shop class.
We're getting couple of messages. These are on the YouTube channel. Colin says, nothing made my Sunday more than watching the Bombers choke for a third straight Grey Cup. I think a lot of Rider fans are there, although I know 2 Rider fans that were actually cheering for the Bombers. I was blown. And then they were arguing with me how they were still the better team. And I was like, hey, I got to stop texting you because you're delusional and insane. Argos had a great coach with Dinwiddie helping Arbuckle a lot during the game. And their defense not taking no for an answer against the Bombers. The Riders need to take the same approach in 2025. That's from Trent on the YouTube. All right, well, hey, I'm telling you, I don't know what made me, and it could have been the gin, not going to lie, on Friday night to take the money line on the Argos. Like,
nice.
Canceling the points. And I just said, you know what? You're the big mouth talking on the show about how weird things happen in the CFL championship game. So put your money where your mouth is. Now, mind you, it was like not the farm, but it was
a sprinkle.
It was a little sprinkle town. Yeah. Okay, Dave. Thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Hey, before I go, can I pass along some quick kudos? Again, Derek and Brendan for a fantastic broadcast of the Mitchell Bowl. Ryan McNally was on the sidelines. Terrific job. But also had a chance to catch up with the athletic director at the University of Regina Cougars. Had a chance to meet her. She was fantastic, as well as Braden, for the work that they did with the Rams. And they pulled off a national caliber event in 6 days. Think about that, because again, they didn't know they're going to be hosting the Mitchell Bowl, and they were able to pull it off flawlessly from what I was able to see with the execution in game and in the stadium. So kudos to the Regina Rams for a great season on and off the field. Hosting the Vanier Cup is going to look terrific next year.